Welcome to the next section of the course. This section will dive very deep into golden ratio used in logo design. We're going to really understand the golden ratio after this because we're going to create it from scratch. And I want to be able to create this ratio and the circles that we're going to use in this process so you can really truly understand how it's created. And so I teach several lessons and several classes that talk about the golden ratio in logo design, but with this class, there's going to be a much deeper understanding of it. So we're going to hop into Adobe Illustrator. First of all, you've probably seen the golden ratio circles used quite a bit in logo designs as you kind of search for logo inspiration, and that is exactly what we're going to be creating is those little circles. And we're going to hop on Adobe Illustrator. The first thing we got to do is create our golden ratio boxes. So you're probably wondering, where do these logo designers get all these circles and how do they apply this 1.168 ratio to create these circles? Well, we're going to do that right now. So I'm in Adobe Illustrator and we're going to be creating two different boxes, and we're going to put it together based on the golden ratio, and then we're going to be able to create these circles from it. So I'm going to go through this whole process. It may seem a little confusing at first, but just hang with me. So what we're going to do, I'm just in a kind of a generic document. I'm going to just go to my edit artboard. So I'm just going to document setup. I'm going to edit some artboards. I'm just going to add new. You can also just create a new document, however you want to do it. And up here on width and height, I'm going to make this 10, or I'm going to make it 1. We'll make it easy and just make it a 1 for 1. So right now I'm using inches, but you can use whatever measurement you'd like because I know not everybody uses inches. So now I have this little perfect 1 inch by 1 inch square. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that off to the right. So now we need to create the golden ratio part. We need to create a square that's 0.1618 multiple of the 1. So it's a little bit bigger than that size. So all we're going to do is go to Document Setup, go to Edit Artboards, and now we're going to do, we could do width or we could do height. Let's do width. And so instead of just the 1, we're going to do a 1.618. So now we're going to go ahead and click on OK. This is going to be a new artboard, so we're going to make sure we add a new one, and then we do it that way. And it's going to automatically round up to that decimal. That's okay. It's very, very small round up. That's all right. So we have one that's a 1 inch by 1 inch square, one that's a 1 inch by our golden ratio 1.618. So just two simple squares. We're going to simply draw a box that's going to take up that whole square. And then we're just going to copy and paste, and we're just getting an idea for size, just creating the ratio. And get as close as you can to the exact edges. And we're going to combine these boxes together. So now we're just going to make these fill, maybe make them a different color to make sure they go all the way to the edge. And it's great to kind of go through this process. You can really understand how golden ratios are derived, so you can really kind of understand how best to use them. So now that they're two different colors, we're going to put this box in here, and we create our first golden ratio rectangle. So this shape is the golden ratio. So this is your 1 by 1 inch, and this is your 1 by 1.618 inch in length. So this is the exact ratio. We created the different boxes. So that's our first step in creating the golden ratio spiral, which will eventually give us the circles. So now we're just going to make this perfect. I'm just going to do a top alignment so they're perfectly matched up. And here's the trick. What we're going to do is we're going to be duplicating this ratio over and over again into the different boxes to create what looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you ahead of time. This is exactly what we're going to create here next. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this, and we're going to put the same ratio on the right side. And so we're going to continue to do this over and over until we get what I've shown you before, what it's supposed to look like. So we're going to take this. I went ahead and I went to path and I outlined the strokes, so when we make it smaller, the stroke sizes are not going to change. So I'm just going to make sure that's grouped together, and it is. I'm going to copy and paste it. So now I have a second one here, and I'm going to rotate it. And what I want to do is when I rotate it, I want to make sure the bigger box is on the top. So I'm just going to go to Object, Transform. I'm just going to rotate it. Instead of 90 degrees, I really want that bigger box on the top, and that's for a reason. I'm just going to rotate it by 270 degrees, and that should land the bigger box on the top. So now here's the thing with golden ratio and anything we do in the golden ratio section of the class. When you have the golden ratio here, you have the top portion, you have the bottom portion, and same will go for the golden ratio circles. You can size these however you want as long as they all maintain the ratio together. So you can't move the top box and make it bigger and keep the other one the same size. They all have to scale up and down together to stay in that ratio. So here we go. Here's going to be our second box. And then we're going to continue to do this, and we're going to rotate it again. So we're going to copy and paste. And now we're going to put it in this square. And so we want to have the bigger square on the right. And you'll see, because the bigger side of the rectangle will be kind of along the right in a spiral. So you'll see kind of at the end. I'm going to want the bigger one on the right. So I'm just going to rotate this again. I'm just going to rotate it 270 degrees again. Make it smaller. As long as I'm holding down shift, they'll scale dimensionally together. Holding down shift and dragging. And I'm going to do this again and again and again. So I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to rotate it by 270 degrees. I'm going to make it smaller. We're going to put it in that smaller, so each time we copy and paste a new one, we're putting it into the smaller side of the ratio. So we're going to put this big one to the smaller side. So we're going to do this just a few more times. Copy and paste. There we go. So now how do we get the golden ratio spiral that you see everywhere? We're going to go ahead and draw the golden ratio spiral next. So now that we have our golden ratio rectangle set up, I opened up a much larger document, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm just making, as long as you keep all the boxes, or in the future case the circles, the same size together and scale them together, you can make it as large as you'd like. So now we're going to create the spiral. I have this on a separate layer right here, and I'm going to lock it so I don't accidentally select anything here. And I have a new layer, and I'm going to be drawing a spiral that's going to go on the tips and the corners of each one of these boxes, just like this. I'll go ahead and show some circles highlighted on the screen of the places we're going to draw the spiral. We're not going to be using the spiral in logo design, but I just wanted to kind of show you where this is coming from in terms of understanding kind of how the golden ratio spiral is created. So since we're doing lots of curves, I'm going to do the curvature tool. It's going to give me a lot more control when it comes to doing this. So I'm just going to click over here and click on the corners. I'm going to go in the center and just make a rounded curve. I'm going to make sure my stroke is on so I can kind of see what's going on. Maybe make it a different color and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So now I'm going to click down on this corner. I'm going to click down on this corner. And I'm just going to keep on clicking, and we can go ahead and we can always, at any time with the curvature tool, adjust our curves a little bit. So it's going to be more of a spiral shape. I'm going up to this corner, and we're slowly working our way through all these boxes to go ahead and get our spiral. And what we're doing is we're clicking to the next size box. And we may have to zoom in to get kind of detailed here. And then the corner. So now I'm just going to make some adjustments with my curvature tool to give myself a little bit more precise curves or nicer curves. And you want to make sure the little points are resting right here in the intersection point in that corner. And making sure we don't have anything going outside, just like that. So there is the golden ratio spiral. So now how do we create these circles that we're going to need to be able to create a golden ratio logo design? Because right now we have squares, and which is great if you want to do layout. But if we want to translate that to symbols that have curves and circular shapes that you're so used to seeing in logo design, how do we create those circles? So we're going to move the spiral away just a little bit, and we're going to create this next. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a series of circles on each one of these boxes all the way around. And when we draw a circle, so let's say we draw this circle, and we're just going to do right up to the edges. If I draw a circle here in this box, and then I draw a circle here in this box, or I guess I should say a square now, the ratio stays intact. So now the ratio between the circles are now that same golden ratio, 1 to 1.618. And so now these two circles in relation to each other keep the golden ratio, but this time in a circular fashion instead of a square. Everybody kind of create this nice, natural, pleasing to the eye ratio. It actually originated in nature by the nautilus. Uses the golden ratio. Each one of its little scales or new growth in its shell is all the golden ratio all the way down. They're all 1 to 1.618. That's kind of where this originally derived from, was nature, and then philosophers and artists started to use it because it was aesthetically pleasing. It's natural. Of course, you can keep going on the inside until it's really, really tiny. Get these smaller little circles, which could be useful in logo design. But I find that this is usually about the amount I need. So yeah, you can keep going for an infinite amount of time, really. And that's it. That's the last square. That's the last one, because that's not a square. This part's the square. So that's it. So we ran out. So that's all of our circles. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and save my document. I'm actually going to provide this as a downloadable file. I'm going to get it all ready, and this is what the final file is going to look like. You can download this in Illustrator format, and you can have all the circles ready. You can have the squares already drawn out for you. I really encourage you to do this yourself just to practice it, but if you want to go ahead and have those circles ready, I'm going to go ahead and perfect this before I bring it in as a resource. I'll go ahead and get the lines, everything lined up a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to bring all of these circles down, and I'm going to overlap them. I'm just going to put them all in the center, and we're going to use our align panel to be able to line all of these circles up nicely. So you could do it nice and rough. We got some really good ratios going on here. All of these are, the next one is 1.618 bigger than the next one. So they all maintain the nice ratio. And now we have all of them selected. I'm going to go to my align panel, do all my center aligns. So horizontal align center, vertical align, center, center, center. So now they're all perfectly even. Once again, this will also be in the resource guide. I'm going to make them all similar strokes so they all kind of look consistent. So there you have it. We have everything we need now to start our golden ratio logo design. I'm going to show you an example of what we're going to be creating. This is kind of the final logo we're going to be creating, and I'm going to show you how I created this, how I arranged the circles to do it. We're going to do a couple of quick little practice things so you can get used to using the golden ratio in logo design, and then we're going to end with this logo. So hopefully this will be a really fun and practical logo design project for you.